All right, it is time to dive into my perfect offseason plan for the Chicago Bears after a very successful season. This is Chicago Bears Now. My name is Harrison Graham. 10-step plan to attack the offseason heading into 2026. Now, I revisited my offseason plan from last year. I got to say, not to pat myself on the back too much, this worked out pretty well. I was pretty accurate on a lot of this. Number one, hire Ben Johnson. Check. Number two, give Johnson heavy roster control. I think offensively that was definitely true, so I'll give myself a check. Number three, fix the offensive line. Cha-ching. Number four, draft a downhill running back. Kyle Monungai, anybody? Number five, bolster the defensive line. They tried. It didn't really work, but they did try with Dayo Odeyingbo and Grady Jarrett. It was okay at times, but not great. Hired Robert Saleh. Didn't do that, but they hired Dennis Allen, former head coach. I can't give myself a check, but similar kind of setup there. Add a burner on offense, Luther Burden. Let Keenan Allen walk. See ya. Cut Gerald Everett. Not only did they cut him, not a single team signed him, and reformed the tight end room behind Kmet. Loveland ended up ahead of Kmet, but they followed that plan pretty close, and it worked out pretty well. Maybe some shitty teams should hire me as GM. Probably not, but, we're just having fun here on YouTube. All right, we'll get to this year's perfect offseason plan in just a moment. But last year I checked, and we picked up 47 new subscribers on that video from last year. Can we top it? Can we get 50 or more on this year's perfect offseason plan? Hit that subscribe button. We're going to be here every day throughout the offseason, and we'll be live on Thursday like we always are. All right, I've gone back and forth on this, and I'm not sitting here saying I would do it under any circumstances. The value's got to be right. But I do think I would try to trade for Maxx Crosby if I was the Chicago Bears. So I will include that in this perfect offseason plan. I don't think it's a get him or there's no other reasonably good paths to take this offseason, but I will put it in here. If you do trade for Crosby, his cap hit next year for the Bears would be $30.78 million. You could rework some money if you trade for him. Restructure his deal, give him like a short extension. There are ways to lower that if you needed to, and the Bears can certainly clear cap space to absorb that contract if they needed to as well. And I do just wonder, would Vegas commit to a full rebuild? Hey, we're going to trade Maxx Crosby, draft Fernando Mendoza, and kind of build this thing back up from the ground. I do think there are some appealing aspects to that if you're Las Vegas. Now, they've been pretty stubborn here in terms of trading Maxx Crosby. He has not come out and requested a trade. I think there are reasons that he wants to stay there beyond football. There are business things, both in the present and in the future. So I'm not even sure he's going to be available. But if he is, and I think there's at least some reason to believe he could be, I would be very interested if the price is right. So this is the trade idea. I put it around on Twitter, and I'll mention it on this show. First-round pick, 25 overall. Third-round pick next year, and DJ Moore, who's probably worth, I don't know, with this contract, fourth-round pick, something like that. So basically a first, a third, and a fourth for Maxx Crosby. Raider fans will say that's not enough, and maybe it's not. I would not offer 2 ones, and certainly would not offer 2 ones plus more. First, day 2 pick, good player in DJ Moore. That's my offer. I don't know if they would take it, but if they would, I would probably pull the trigger on this. So that is step number 1 to my perfect offseason. Number 2, which is part of what we just did, is I would trade DJ Moore. It's not because I don't like DJ Moore. I think there's flaws to his game, but ultimately it's just a roster management decision here. That's it. You drafted Luther Burden. You have Rome Odunze. You have Colston Loveland. DJ Moore is a $28 million receiver that you can save $16 million on if you trade him when he's not your clear top weapon. He's paid to be your top weapon. He is not your top weapon. He's part of a good quartet of receiving options. You don't need 4 top-tier receiving options. You can't ever have enough, but I want Loveland to be even more involved. I want Luther Burden to have a true full-time role next year. I expect Rome Odunze to get healthy and bust it this offseason so he can turn into the player that we all know and think he can become. I think that's a strong trio. You got your 2 running backs. You got Cole Kmet still here. We'll talk more about him. I think he sticks around. So, again, it's not personal, but I just think he's the odd man out for financial reasons more than anything else. And by the way, the Bears were complimentary of him, Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson, at their exit press conferences, but not like they said anything that would make you think that he's going to be here for the foreseeable future. Like, there's an opportunity to trade him that makes sense. I think they will absolutely consider that. Would you do this trade? Revisit the trade. Crosby to Chicago for a first, a third, and DJ Moore. Type Y for yes, type in for no. I would. I don't know if the Raiders would. I don't know if the Bears would, but I personally would do that trade. All right, number 3, I'm cutting Tremaine Edmunds. I thought he played really well the first half of this year. Then he got hurt, and when he came back, he was slow. He was out of position. And it's tough because in the middle of the year, it was like, man, like, could he be around? How could you even extend him? But the way he finished the year, he's another year older. He's making $18 million. I just think cutting him to save $15 million, that's too much money to bypass on. I like Tremaine Edmunds, but to me, he's a $10, $11 million player. Now, if he wants to take a pay cut or if you want to extend him and lower that cap hit, that's an option, but I want to get faster in the back 7, and I don't think Tremaine Edmunds, at this point in his career, like, his speed isn't improving. Now, down the stretch, was he probably in peak physical condition coming off the injury? Probably not, but it's kind of one of those deals where you already extended TJ Edwards. I don't know if it makes sense to run back that pairing for another season. I just think that one of these two has to go, and you've already extended TJ, who's already going to rehab an injury this offseason. So I want to add more speed at that position. I want to add more speed on defense. I think you could re-sign DeMarco Jackson for a very cheap price, and he could be a serviceable starter. You could draft somebody. I just think that $15 million can be better spent elsewhere. Okay, number 4, re-sign Kevin Byard. I mean, Ryan Poles said it himself. They want to bring him back. So not a guarantee that they will or that they'll be able to, but he would like to return. They want to bring him back. I think they're going to work something out. He had a fantastic year. He fit in well in Dennis Allen's system. He's a terrific leader for this football team. He still has good ball left in the tank. Probably a 1-year deal, maybe a 2, where the second year is, mostly a team option where if they cut him, there's very little penalty. So I think something along those lines of a 1-year, $6 to $8 million, maybe a second, maybe a 2-year deal for $13 to $15 million with only, 8 to 10 guaranteed. Some kind of structure like that. I want Kevin Byard back. I think he wants to be back, and my gut tells me he will return. Okay, number 5, I would go ahead and get out in front of this. I would extend Darnell Wright. Really good draft pick by Ryan Poles a few years ago. He is now extension eligible. We talked about the highest paid offensive tackles recently here on this show, but just to revisit those, you look at the left tackles, Rashawn Slater, Tristan Wirfs kind of setting the market there at $28 million per year. A guy in the division, Christian Darrisaw, at $26 million. I think Darnell Wright will at least top that. From a right tackle standpoint, Penei Sewell at $28 million, a guy who Ben Johnson has also coached. I could see Darnell and his reps pushing for that. I think Penei, when he got paid, was probably a tick better than where Darnell is now, but I think they're both very similar players. They're dominant in the run game and mostly very good in pass pro. Have occasional lapses, but I think Darnell Wright is still just scratching the surface of who he can be. I think he can be, the best tackle in football. He's got all the traits, all the ability. He's tough as hell. I love that he, fought through that elbow injury this year. He's been able to play through stuff. This is kind of a structure I put together. 4 years, $112 million, $28 a year. Give him $82 million guaranteed, which would top. I think it would be the third most among offensive tackles. I think that's a pretty good offer. It's basically a 3+1. And since you still have next year and potentially the 5th-year option, you could space that money out to keep those cap hits at a relatively reasonable cost. And the sooner you extend them, the better for those exact reasons and potentially for other tackles who could be up for contracts. I haven't done extensive research on which players that could be, but if someone else gets paid, that only raises the price on Darnell. So I would get on that as soon as possible, if not before the draft. Okay, number 6, draft Ahmad Moten Sr. on day 2. The defensive tackle out of Miami. Just like edge with what we did with Maxx Crosby, you need help on that interior. And if you can get any of those dudes from Miami, I'm cool with that. But this guy is a good pass rusher from the interior. He plays the run as well. I liked what I saw from him in this playoff run. Good player. And, if you trade for Maxx Crosby, you're not going to have your first-round pick. So drafting a defensive tackle on day 2 makes a lot of sense. You need to bolster that position. I expect Javon Dexter back next year, but long-term, I don't know if he's in the mix. Grady Jarrett's obviously going to be year to year at this point moving forward. He'll be back next year based on his contract, but beyond that, very unclear. You need a guy that is talented, can help you right now, but you can also develop. We're unsure about Shamar Turner and his situation at this point. So I like adding Moten here in the 2nd or 3rd round. Okay, today's show is sponsored by Mars Men. Fellas, get going with Mars Men today. I turned 33 this year, and here's the thing. Most men start losing testosterone around age 30 and about 1% every year after that. When the new year hit, I kind of treated it like a reset. I wanted to feel energized again, not worn down, especially after a long football season. So this year I'm keeping it simple, doing something natural that supports my body where it needs it. That's why I'm taking Marsmen. It helps your body unlock usable testosterone so you can feel like yourself again. Marsmen supports healthy T levels, energy, and stamina. It has 8 natural and clinically dosed ingredients, including boron, zinc, and vitamin D, plus more. Marsmen is made in the U.S. and is third-party tested. You can also get a 90-day money-back guaranteed with Marsmen, so there's no risk. Worst case, if you don't love it, you can get your money back. However, 91% of users report higher energy levels, so that's pretty unlikely, I'd say. For a limited time, our listeners get 50% off for life, plus free shipping and 3 free gifts at mengotomars.com. Perfect way to kick off the new year strong. It is mengotomars.com for 50% off. And 3 free gifts at checkout after you purchase. They will ask you where you heard about them. Please support Chicago Bears now and tell them we sent you. Okay, you could certainly restructure more guys, and I think there's an argument to be made that they will or could. But I think 2 guys I would restructure for sure. Joe Thuney, Jonah Jackson, which basically you convert some of their base salary into a signing bonus, and it kicks larger cap hits down the road. But these are guys I expect to be on this team in 2027 and playing. Those are the guys you restructure, because if you're looking ahead and you're like, okay, who do I not want to restructure because I'm not sure if they'll be here beyond this year, those are the guys you don't like. For example, Dio Adengbo. I would not restructure him because he wasn't very good this year. Then he tore his Achilles. You can cut him after this year with a limited penalty, but if you restructure him, cutting him next year doesn't become that realistic of an option. Joe Thuney, Jonah Jackson, I think we can all agree are guys we want here beyond 2026. They're under contract beyond 2026, so you kick money down the road and you deal with that later. I think they will both be here in 2027, so that saves you quite a bit of money on the cap this year. Again, doing stuff like that helps you pursue a Maxx Crosby or someone of that ilk if you choose to do so. So those are 2 guys I would for sure do it with. You could consider Jalen Johnson, but after having an injury year, not sure if they would. You could do it with a guy like Montez Sweat, which could be an option, a few others as well. Okay, number 8, I'm letting Jaquan Brisker and Deshaun Wright walk. I would be open to Brisker returning if the price is right, but I think the Bears are tipping their hand already. They are verbally saying they want Kevin Byard back. They have not said that about Jaquan Brisker. Now, if the price comes down and the market's not kind to him, maybe he could be back on like a cheap 1-year deal. Deshaun Wright, I think, is a textbook. Great story. Appreciate the efforts. Go get paid elsewhere. Play the comp pick formula game if you're the Bears. You can't keep and pay everyone. They're going to be very selective on who they bring back and what positions they want to bring new players in. And I think safety, all 4 free agents, prioritize Byard and then, go younger at that other position. Okay, number 9, which is part of number 8. Make Tyreek Stevenson a full-time starter again. I think the way he played down the stretch, you just plug him back in. He's in the final year of his 4-year rookie contract. He's cheap. He's solid. He's not an all-pro necessarily, but I still think there's a world where he gets a second contract here. And if nothing else, he can fill that role for 2026. Just be solid on the outside, opposite of Jalen Johnson, who hopefully can have a healthy offseason and be good at that other CB spot as well. You've got Terrell Smith rehabbing from his torn ACL. Zay Frazier enters the fray next year. You could bring back someone cheap like Nick McLeod if you want to add some depth and competition. But I think Tyreek Stevenson showed that he can be a full-time starter in this scheme next season. And then lastly, extend Cole Kmet. That also is going to lower that can lower his cap hit as well. Set to be $11.6 million next year. If you extend him, you can free up an additional $7.1 million. if you do that. And I think you could extend him on a pretty team-friendly deal. I just think this guy, number one, Ben Johnson really likes him. He blocked his ass off this year. He's reliable in the passing game, even though, clearly his super productive days as a receiver are over with the emergence of Colston Loveland. But we know Johnson's going to run a lot of 12 and 13 personnel. So this is not a guy you cut. This is not a guy you trade. He is Chicago through and through. $11.6 million isn't even that much, but you can lower it even more by simply extending him, or you could restructure him as well. But I think this is a guy that he wants to be here throughout the duration of his career. He's made his big money on his contract. He's in the middle of a 4-year, $50 million extension. Give him a team-friendly deal and keep him around and lower that cap hit. I think the Bears and Kmet come to the table and work something out to keep him in Chicago. What is the number one thing you would do this offseason? That was my 10-step perfect plan for the Bears. Maybe we redo this segment as the time goes on. If something changes, if one of these things goes haywire, maybe I revisit this. But if you were in charge, what was the number one thing you would do, or at least try to do? Let me know down in the comment section below. My name is Harrison Graham. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Chicago Bears Now. Hit that subscribe button. We'll see you soon.